Hello and welcome to the Wrestling Headlines Elimination Chamber review. It's quite a late start here, 4:30 in the morning. It was looking like it was going to be a very quick show, and then suddenly we get to this. We get to the main event. We get to Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn having their little kind of post-match angle. Suddenly, oh god, yeah. So honestly, the way that this show was flowing was like really, really good. I was really, really happy with just how quickly the show was flying by, and then suddenly hit the main event. Anyway, that's my quick, tired thoughts. I really enjoyed this show. Not the best way for me to start off a review, just me ragging on to something that I didn't really mind about. I will say, as I look, my lighting's not right. Light me up, Daddy. I don't have to say that. What's wrong with me? Anyway, this is the Elimination Chamber review. My name is Matt Maher, aka Imp. All the socials there, the Wrestling Headline socials all on the screen as well. And we're here to talk about the Elimination Chamber live from Montreal, Canada. A white hot crowd chanting for Sami Zayn at the top of their lungs before the show had even begun. Skillet playing in my ears for the first time in what surely is like 12 years. So, oh god. Yeah. Oh, good to hear that my audio is good. That's awesome, because genuinely, like a minute before I went live, there was nothing. So good to think. I've gone from nothing to sounding clear. That's good. Right. Let's talk about the main event, because there's quite a lot to kind of dive into, and then of course with the kind of the play of Elimination Chamber matches, there's quite a lot to talk about from this show. But overall, really enjoyed this show. The flow of it was really, really easy to watch, which has kind of been the case with these 5-match NXT TakeOver like kind of structure to them shows from Triple H. Like in the Peacock era, Vince McMahon would kind of have the same style of card, but with like they felt like the shows were really long, just because he would then have also the advertisements put in there through Peacock. Whilst now, in this era, you get the advertisement breaks, but there's far fewer matches. Like it's like the show is built with the idea of, well, we're going to have time for these long pauses. Instead of elongating the show with them, we're going to shorten the amount of stuff we're putting on the card. So you've actually got time to delve into each one of these matches. So you get far fewer matches. You only get 5. But they all flow really, really well. And I can't really complain. I am going to turn my lighting up. It's irritating me a little bit. Where's the red one? There it is. There we go. This is what you people care about. minor changes that only I can probably tell. Anyway, to the main event, which is the main draw for this show. Even though it was an Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, like as I'm writing up the stuff for it, I'm just kind of like, yeah, we're all here for Sami, right? Even though this is an Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, like, yeah, there's 2 Elimination Chamber matches. But that's not the draw this year. The draw this year is the Sami Zayn, absolute crazy hype that he's in at the moment, going against Roman Reigns off of their hot angle from the Royal Rumble. I mean, I call it an angle from the Royal Rumble. This is something that's been building since, when I say before the Triple H era, under Vince, it was more like, this felt like it could be like a short-term thing, just like a little comedy character to kind of get Reigns, to add to the Reigns storyline through the summer. And maybe it would fizzle out at some point. They'd kick him out maybe before the end of the year, or at least around SummerSlam or something. Triple H gets his hands on it. Suddenly we're building to like this superstar white hot crowd reaction, and just reminding people of Money in the Bank with CM Punk in Chicago. Just the white hot nature in which it was built up to this. And for me, this is reaping the rewards, bearing the fruit of all this. Where they were. This was like built up from Royal Rumble, but this is like the months beforehand. And I don't know whether to commend the start of it coming under Vince, but it's more that under the Triple H era, he took something that existed, and instead of like doing the normal Vince thing of it ends way before it really should do, this was no, let's turn this into like a WrestleMania angle and beyond. Which, when I analyse this main event. As my kind of film production-y brain kicks in, I'm seeing narrative story beats happening. So whenever I see this, I'm just like, I can see where they're going with this. So when I see the reaction of, they should have had Sami win, especially before the show. I don't know, I've not really seen a lot of reaction, because I've just, like, this show ends, and suddenly I've got to get stuff ready. Like I don't have time to just look at Twitter and gauge people's reactions. I don't have time for a press conference. I've got stuff to do. But they, just into that thought of, Sami Zayn is white hot, so why don't you put the title on him? Like, why not? And for me personally, there's so many plates spinning around and off of this, and where so much kind of has to change for WrestleMania. It's not just one match. Suddenly, for this, if Sami Zayn goes to be in a Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes kind of triple threat thing, or something related, be it stretched over 2 nights or whatever, that takes him out of the tag team match, which then means Kevin Owens hasn't got anything to do, which then means that the Usos haven't got anyone to face, so then people get moved about. If you're talking about Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, I'm going to give a shout out to Dave Fenichel, who has made a prediction of Gunter, Sheamus and Drew. Oh, but suddenly, my top pick for the Usos would be the Bang of Rose, or whatever they're called now. I don't know, I'm not going to even try. I forgot what they're called. But yeah, in doing that, and suddenly they get moved about, Walter doesn't have an opponent. As in ripple effects fast across the card. And that's me assuming that you do that, especially because Brock and Bobby seem tied up with Bray. You could have all the wrestlers beginning with the letter B. They've all got to be together. I'm sorry, but it's the way it's got to be. I mean, Triple H, he knows all about the same letter acronyms. I don't know where I was going with that point. Drop it. Basically, there's an entire WrestleMania card has to change. It's not just one match, and I can understand why they stuck with it. But also, WrestleMania, WrestleMania's got this kind of notion as it being it's got a trait that it is where you end your stories, but also it can be used to launch the next stories. So you don't have to end every one of your stories at WrestleMania. You also begin new ones, which obviously to some people makes all the sense in the world. Where you get also, if they do run Bobby Bot Bray, I am calling it Triple B. It's just that's Bobby Bot Bray, and I'm going to say it like it's one name as well every single time. Yeah, it's just like Bobby Bot Bray. There we go. It's the Bobby Bot Bray match. Oh, and because they're all big boys as well. I don't know if I could come up with a nickname for each of them beginning with the letter B, because Brock's got the Beast. I don't know what Bray's got. Bobbly Lashes. Never came up for Bobby Lashley. But anyway, I've got runs of B acronyms here, which I can just take over and copy and paste in my WrestleMania review. I'm all set. You'll see my amazing run of just doing whole sentences beginning with the same letter. The power that has in our country. Ted Lasso, that was a gag, but it's funny because it's true. Do a headline where it's all the same letter at the start of each word. Oh, we'll bite. Trust me, they sting now in our culture. But anyway, for me personally, this result of, yes, spoiled, Sami Zayn didn't win. However, it's one of those where there's so much spinning off of it, and I've seen the complaint of, what, all of this just to build to an Usos tag team match for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn? Like, that can't be the end point of this story. Like, no. It's a pivotal point of this story. For me, Sami Zayn, before he can become champion or anything of that level, for his story to wrap up, let's call it a story rather than championship run, he has to have some form of closure with Jey Uso. Sami Zayn's main story isn't with Roman Reigns, it's with Jey, and that's in terms of specifically the Bloodline arc. Through the Bloodline arc, he has been elevated, and through this match, you've created a character that now has the belief that he could beat the champion, and you showed he possibly did have the champion beat, were it not to interference or all these other reasons. So Sami Zayn does come across as a guy that could have done it, and for me that was the entire point of this, where it's something that I remember applauding during the Okada incredible run that he had as champion. A really important part of what you kind of have to do for runs like this is to stop it feeling Jinder Mahal the same. Is with each defence, you chip away at the armour. And what happened in the Okada reign was people started to counter his sequence of moves. His opponents started to figure it out. So he started to innovate and to just do things differently, to do the sequences, the moves he was doing not in the same way or whatever, or to insert something new. And that was kind of enough within those matches to just create those sudden kind of reactions within you that, oh, either he could lose here, or that's something new. This might actually lead to a false finish or something. But that kind of belief that the opponent could beat him was vital. But also within Okada, you saw him adapting to his opponents adapting. His matches weren't all the same. You saw that building of his character. With Roman, and in WWE, I don't attribute them to doing that kind of thing, especially under Vince. But we're kind of seeing it here with Roman. It started here. I don't know if they started it here because they're going to pay it off at WrestleMania. What I can say is they've started to chip away. And that in terms of like uncrowning a champion like Roman, that is vitally important. Because you'll hear phrases like he's too strong, he's too much of a monster, he's too unbeatable. Things sort of thrown around like that. I don't know if Roman definitely has that because they have shown him needing interference and stuff like that. So the bloodline kind of falling apart a little bit made him vulnerable. But when Roman has been presented as a god, this night was Sami for the first time exposing weakness. Like, so going forward past this night did so much good going forward for the Roman Reigns reign, because suddenly he's no longer this undefeatable god. He's now just a man. He's beatable. Like, Reigns may still be champion, but he is beatable. He is still the king, but merely a man. He is not this god he has been presented to be as of recent times. And that is so vital. Because suddenly you can stretch out this kind of final run of Roman where the people watching, like here with Sami on this night, can truly believe in the people trying to take him down, which has been a major problem with the Roman run, is his opponents. And it wasn't until the Sami stuff started to bubble up a bit and we got our run here with Sami that he felt like he actually had a credible opponent. Which is kind of like not the downfall of the Roman reign, because it has done really well in elevating as this kind of superstar character that WWE has desperately needed. They finally found a successor after John Cena. And it was Roman Reigns. They were right all along. They were just doing it horrifically for years. But in building up this character, there needs to be strong opponents. And Reigns just didn't have that. He's not really had anybody across this run that you believed could beat him until tonight. And what tonight did was expose him and show that he can be beaten by other opponents down the line. Suddenly, it's not just one person that could beat Roman Reigns. You know, right on the corner, there's Cody Rhodes. And of course, there's an inkling back of your head. It could be Sami Zayn again later once he's finished his kind of wrapping up his arc, getting some closure with Jey Uso. However that ends up being. Yes, there is the match at WrestleMania, the tag team match for the titles, but that's not where it ends. And for me, I feel like that's going to be one big test of what is the difference between the Triple H run and the Vince run. In the Vince run, you were always thinking short term. Like, the longest you were ever picturing an arc was to the next WrestleMania. Be that immediately after the previous WrestleMania with John Cena and The Rock, or be that like Daniel Bryan with SummerSlam to WrestleMania. Even though their first choice was awful. It's like, yes, you start this arc with Daniel Bryan losing to Randy Orton at SummerSlam so that you can specifically do Randy Orton versus Batista. Like, what? That makes no sense. Why would you do that? What do you mean you're going to do Daniel Bryan versus Kane? No, what do you mean? But at the end of they fell into the right thing. It's all right. They fell into it. A little rant on the thing from 9 years ago. God, that was 9 years ago. The Daniel Bryan movement was 9 years ago. I don't want to say that again. let's just move on from that. But still, for me, this night, I'm perfectly happy with the result. Mostly because I see these narrative things being laid down. This isn't just for, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are just going to win the tag titles. Is that the payoff for this feud? No, it's a pivotal point. I didn't mean feud, I meant arc. Like, no. This is a pivotal point for the arc. This is not the end point. And I feel like that, it's more because I'm seeing those narrative notes. I could be completely wrong. And after this, we're going to just see, it wraps up WrestleMania and you start these storylines afterwards and well. But I kind of have the faith in Triple H and the way he runs the creative, that after WrestleMania we just get the next beat of the same character arc, the same story. because that was a trope outside of WWE for years within wrestling. It's just, if you've been a pure WWE fan, you've not seen stories told like this. And it's kind of one of the reasons AEW was birthed the way it was. Like, one of their comments was from the Young Bucks was, well, WWE do this way of storytelling. But it's often said that wrestling has to be this way, it has to be done like this and that. To which they question, but why? Why can't we tell stories in a different way? Why can't we be more adult with the way that we are presenting these stories, lines and characters? Prime example, Hangman Page having to overcome his anxiety and over the course of months, if not years, to get to that point where he truly believes in himself to face Kenny Omega. You've kind of got a somewhat similar slow bubble here for Sami Zayn. You saw it with Cody, where Sami, before that, didn't believe. Like, yes, he was putting up the front of being the brave soldier or whatever, but he didn't actually believe in that he could beat Roman when he went in on Monday Night Raw. Amazing promo between those two, which then brings you to SmackDown, where Sami Zayn is hyped up in front of his crowd because of that promo. He actually believes now that he could do that, which says a lot about the character, where beforehand he didn't. So this whole arc was him convincing himself that he belongs here, challenging for the world titles at this level. Sami Zayn can do it. And also an amazing testing of the waters for an eventual Cody versus Sami match. Like, oh, yes. It's so good. But you also don't have to pay it off here. You can build to these things. They don't have to all be immediate, which was the case under the Vince run. Like, you only ever really teased something like this if you were going to do it immediately. It's a thing that Vince always used to do, where you introduce Chekhov's gun because you're going to immediately fire it. Like, no. Save it for later. That's the entire premise of the thing. Yeah, you introduce the gun, and then you just put it away. Just hide it. If anyone's watched the TV show White Lotus, the show starts... semi spoilers, but it's semi spoiler for the opening scene. So not really spoilers. In the opening scene of White Lotus TV show, highly recommend it. They show somebody at an airport, and then they talk about, somebody died here, and then you flash back. So you know somebody dies, and you just watch people exist at a hotel for like 5 or 6 episodes. The show's only 6 episodes long. For that many episodes, you just watch them exist in a hotel. But you know that the gun's there. You know that gun exists. So every time you're watching this, you're seeing the pieces of what leads to them firing Chekhov's gun. In this case, what leads to them, the body dying. Or whatever, whoever it is. You don't know who it is or whatever. I'll leave it there so I don't tangent off into the spoilers, as I'm also holding my mime gun and I want to put it down, so I need to finish my point. So they, in this case, an example, Sami Zayn going after Roman Reigns and being this big elevation. Under Vince, the only reason he teased something like this is because you are going to be crowning Sami Zayn, you'll be ending the reign or whatever. He probably doesn't do this build here. This never happens under Vince. None of this happens. As in terms of Sami Zayn going for the title shot. It just doesn't happen. I can't see a world where... Because to be fair, in my head, Sami Zayn was kicked out of the bloodline under Vince. Maybe even still during the summer. I don't even know they'll make it to SummerSlam. Like, it's just the reason he introduced the gun is to immediately fire it. And with that logic, do they even make it to SummerSlam with Sami Zayn still in the bloodline? It's like, that's a thought. But still, here, which is a place I trust that he's introducing the gun so that you know it's there. It's always in the back of your mind. And it's, for me, it's always there that you know now that Sami Zayn could become champion. But for the short term, he's going to wrap up his story with Jey Uso. And I'm perfectly fine with that. And it makes a lot of character sense in my head that, for me, that really helps settle it if he says it to the crowd on SmackDown at some point over the next 6 weeks. Also, don't forget, this is not the point we're entering WrestleMania at. We've got 6 weeks. And if they tell the story at the same level they have been so far, that's 6 weeks to really move along the story, to make it make sense and kind of give it that kind of power and narratively. And I feel like they did such a good job here that I trust them. They've earned my trust. Over the course of time, over the course of months, the trust has been earned that they will spend the time to kind of build this up. So I'm very fine with it. I need to start talking about the actual matches. But for me, this is like a proof that they are doing a really good job here. Is I can just rattle on for like 20 minutes and I'm still just want to keep talking about all the different ways they could go off. Basically, the point I'm making is in this match there are so many little narrative little things where they are setting up for the future. And to kick off that future is Sami Zayn, his tag team champion. And you can slowly build him up. That's pretty much my point. This isn't the end point. WrestleMania isn't the end point. It's the next pivotal character beat for these characters. And for me, it makes all the sense in the world for Sami Zayn to just go out on SmackDown. That's the point I was bringing it back to what I was trying to say earlier. And just say to the crowd, I know I could become champion, but I can't do that until I wrap this up with Jay. Or before I confront Jay, and there's Kevin Owens as well. For me, Kevin Owens is probably the initial one because of the way that the show ended, with him just walking away. But with Jey Uso as well, and that for me ties into wonderfully into WrestleMania, because he's still got that Jey Uso confrontation for him actually giving an answer of what side he's on, and it all hints that he's going to be on, I'll call it the baddie side, but you never know. He could be a goodie. You never know. Anyway, the match itself, the presentation, all of that stuff. God, there's a lot of notes. Thank God this is only 5 matches as well. Thank God. So, the main event, the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Please split the titles and shorten these names. Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman versus Sami Zayn. The Roman boos hit like an absolute wave. This is, my God. What an incredible atmosphere. Sami with an enormous hometown reaction. Like a national hero entering the building. The crowd going crazy before a single action took place. Like, literally, nothing had happened. And the volume was at a fever pitch. They were just walking and staring. Sometimes at each other, sometimes out to the crowd. For like 5-6 minutes. And the crowd were at a fever pitch. And then they popped for a collar-enabled tie-up. It's like, my God. And, yeah, like an incredible atmosphere. Like, a really strong... It's one of those examples of a really strong main event that's truly elevated by a white-hot crowd. Popping huge for every little thing, reacting to every motion. Roman and Sami threw at them, and Reigns beating the man up in front of his family, telling them that I never wanted this to happen. I wanted you to be part of the family. I wanted to provide for you. He's like, oh, it's great stuff. as he's shouting at Sami's wife that I was going to provide for you. With Sami's part of the family, you're part of the family. He's like, oh, that's lovely stuff. Plus also, that means that Sami can play off that emotion perfectly. Like, whenever he enters underdog run of fire, he can then bounce off of whatever Roman Reigns was bagging on about or shouting at. It's like Roman chats shit, Sami's wife, as he's in control. Sami then goes to ringside, kisses his wife. Huge eruption of cheers, before he then continues running and diving in the ring. So it's really good. They can just feed off each other really well. And the crowd on their feet, especially for the kind of elevation of the match, all on their feet for the tease of a haluva kick, constantly swinging back into Reigns at perfect Sami peaks. It's like he's all set up for the haluva kick. It's time for a Superman punch, just to bring it right back down. The flow momentum, top notch, really, really good. The ultimate tease as Sami hit a Superman punch to set up the actual haluva kick landing to only a near fall. And the crowd, they bought that one, and I'm looking back at it now, just like, you bought that one. Look what's about to come. That was phase 1. Also on that, both lads' kickouts were so good. Like, close to convincing you every time. Even off never winners, like sunset flips. The kickouts were so good that for a split second, you're like, oh! It just creates that reaction within inside of you. And both men did it so well. Often I've applauded Reigns about that in the past, with how great he is at kickouts. But the fact that Sami was matching him equally in that, it added so much to this match. So much applause to both men. The ending act kicked off by the ref bump. It's like, yes, we went into shenanigans, nailing the point that Sami could have won as he hit a third haluva kick if it weren't for the referee going down for the interference. It was the Bloodline interference, as Sami was worried about on Monday Night Raw, saying that they've always got a plan. The Bloodline always has a plan. He was getting worked up about that. He knows better than anybody. The Bloodline always have something in their back pocket. But Cody helped him believe. And he went in on SmackDown, had that belief, then came into this night truly believing he could overcome it anyway. But the Bloodline's always too much. Jimmy Uso, our first interferer, super kick, splash, and kick out of the match from Sami. The timing was incredible. Just rolling his body over with no push-out power at all. It's like, oh, I love those. I think I've seen Ibushi do something like that as well. It's just, when they do this kick-outs, just it's so good. Helluva kick to Jimmy. Out he goes. Turning back and right into a spear. And arguably the biggest kick-out reaction of the match. The crowd bought that was the ending. Because it's one of those places you see quite a lot of the interfering guy is up on the apron, so then your goody guy goes and knocks him off the apron, only to turn into the villain who capitalises on the distraction. 1, 2, 3. You know, somewhat standard finish. So you just put that in the middle of your match. And the crowd went absolutely crazy. They totally bit that was the snap sudden ending. It's like, no, this match didn't have a snap sudden ending. And long term, I think it's going to be better for it. Again, I don't actually know what the reaction is right now because I've just been busy since from towards the ending point of the show. I don't have any time to stop and check, so I don't know how it's gone down. I assume there's sections who are very angry, and I'm like, but it's clearly more than just this match. They've built up to it so well. But yeah, leading into some awesome narrative symmetry. Heyman fetching the chair, but of all people, it's Jey Uso who steps between Roman and Sami. A complete mirroring, a repeat of the Rumble spot as Roman hands the chair out, this time to Jey Uso, who stands over Sami. And then Jey Uso gets the chair, and then just framing exactly the same as a Royal Rumble, Roman steps between Jey and Sami just to speak some words at Sami. And it's an exact repeat of the Royal Rumble spot. It's like, oh, it's awesome narrative symmetry. Like, yes. But Jey gives no answer. He doesn't show. You get the hint that he might turn on Roman, just like they did with Sami. But this time they don't pull the trigger. Instead, Reigns snaps it off of him for taking too long. And then suddenly Sami takes it to capitalise with jumping with a spear, but accidentally hits Jey. Jey goes out. Roman dodging, and then he just lamps in with the chair shots, because don't forget, he just took the chair off of Jey. Just chair shot after chair shot, and then just hits the spear for the win. It's one of those where it's like, yeah, Sami was never going to kick out of that. He just lamped him. After kicking out so much, he just lamped him with chair shots and then hit a spear. Of course he's going to win. As silence falls in Montreal, then the post-match angle hits. And for me, I'm just like, yep, this is going absolutely perfectly fine. But I had no idea what they had planned for the post-match. I was like, I don't know if they're going to really elevate it with this or what. The post-match angle hits to salvage some hometown happiness. Jimmy and Roman beginning the beatdown before Kevin Owens makes his return. A big pop for Sami's former best friend, saving the day. Yeah, but that was the end of it. Kevin Owens comes out, hits spears, he hits stunners on everybody, allows Sami Zayn to hit one more Helluva kick on Roman Reigns before. But they don't hug. You don't get that big moment of them back together. Instead, they play it off as, well, no. Before the Royal Rumble, Sami Zayn had outwardly just said that he's a former friend of Kevin Owens. He was making it a big point to Roman that he was no longer friends with Kevin Owens. So, you know what? They're actually sticking by that. It makes some sense. That he's not just going to suddenly hug him and be best friends all over again. Okay, in a Vince world, they totally would. But in this remembering what characters actually said and did world, it's like, actually, no. They're going to have to work at it a little bit. Not for too long. You've only got 6 weeks, and you've also got to integrate the Jey Uso drama to set up the tag team match as well. You're not just building a tag team, you're doing both of those things at the same time. But you probably intertwined them, to be fair, or whatever. But yeah, it was a somewhat hinting at where they're going, rather than getting your big moment. I think Montreal wanted a big moment, but I don't know if Kevin Owens joining up here would have come across a bit as... If he and Sami just hugged in the middle of the ring, it might have come across as them just trying to salvage rather than... as in trying to patch over the fact that they're going to be booing. Let's try and send them home happy. He's like, no. Just live in the fact that they're not going to be happy. Their guy lost. Just let them exist in that with him. So yeah, absolutely fine. And obviously that means you get Sami Zayn's music playing to end the show, because he was the star of this show. This was his moment, his big main event, his white hot crowd who were just begging for him to win, to get that victory. But obviously you got big things set up. And for me personally, it sets up so much. as I've hinted at, you've got WrestleMania arcs, you've got post-WrestleMania arcs, you've got all that trajectory, and it's all set up here. And who knows how things are going to spiral out of these next 6 weeks, and I would include WrestleMania in that 6 week kind of period that's to come, because who knows where things are going to spiral. And maybe the bloodline does fall apart at this WrestleMania, or maybe this is the kind of run to WrestleMania is what is used to show the cracks in the armour for a completely different feel to the Reigns arc, as he now is shown to be vulnerable. He's not the once invincible champion. He's now clinging on. People know his weaknesses. So, yeah, I'll take that. So, again, there's so many good roads you can go with it. That's why I'm struggling to see that the dark side of it. It's like, no. They're doing good. They're doing good. They're setting up. So there's so many different roads they can go down, and so many different ways you can take it. Just take it at face value of what you've got now, without saying, well, what could they possibly do in the future? What have they hinted at that they could be doing? Like, no. They're clearly building stuff. It's not a let it play out. It's closer to they've clearly hinted and have been setting things up. So to just take it at face value is a little bit stupid, because you have to actively ignore what they're building and just take it off. Oh, he's white hot. He should have won here. Oh yeah, that could have been. That was an option, which is one of the other benefits. They've got so many options. I need to stop dancing around it. I need to move on with the show. But yeah, case in point, I'm really hot on this. Really, for me, it's really, really good booking, really good creative. And it does more than just the one show. It's thinking long term. It's not just a short term thing. Anyway, gonna now go through the show in order, starting with the women's elimination chamber, ending in the men's chamber. And normally I phrase it like that, because especially when I've covered AEW in the past. In doing that, I normally have a lot of matches to get through after my main talking point. Here, it's NXT length. I've got 4 matches to talk about, and then I'm off to bed. Oh, it's so much better, so much better. This show just flowed so much better than the Vince era. It's not even close. Just 5 matches, and the fact that there were 2 chamber matches and then a Reigns match, it's similar to the Royal Rumble. That really, really helps, because that means you get your attraction matches, and in between those 2, there are only 2 matches. You don't have a load of waiting. You don't have 2 hours waiting for the next thing to happen on like a 4.5 hour Royal Rumble. You don't have matches where you're just waiting for the Rumble. It's like, no. You get 2 matches between you seeing the titular character in the Elimination Chamber. You get 2 matches. They're both completely different. You get some variety on the show. Then you get your second chamber match, which was awesome. And then you get your main event, which the crowd's white hot for. No, it's a really good lesson in kind of just the pacing with variety. Doesn't mean I am like blanket enjoying the variety, but it's got a variety. I can't say they don't have it. So, kicking off the show was the women's elimination chamber match for a number 1 contenders shot for WrestleMania against the Raw Women's Champion, who is Bianca Belair, in a lineup of sorts of a women's chamber. It was, honestly, I think I enjoyed it more than I thought it was going to, which is probably why I'm more positive on it, but I still don't think it's going to be like anywhere near a list of favourite elimination chamber matches. It was a elimination chamber match. I don't really have much more to say about it. To be fair, it's one of those where I'm relatively happy with the character spotlights that each character got, but as a chamber match, it was a chamber match. So the contestants were Asuka, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Carmella, Nikki Cross, and Canada's own Natalya. No one was a believable winner apart from Asuka. The only twist was they are in Canada. Like, do they give it to Natalya? It's the one place that will cheer for her winning this match. It's like, you could do it. It's a chamber with a Canadian. I can't really say it. A Canadian, Canada-ian. Hit for the Canadians. There you go. I thought about that when I wrote it out, but it's now like 3-4 hours later. I could not say that out loud. A perfectly fine chamber match. Some fun moments, if nothing crazy. The eliminations coming thick and fast in no time, as no time was wasted in getting to the reveal of the glitzy WrestleMania graphic with Bianca Belair and, spoilers, Asuka. Just up on their fancy graphic. So yeah, the Asuka character's great, and it feels more like, let's get this out of the way so we can just start to building Asuka's going to kill you type of level of stuff to kind of build up the match for Bianca Belair. So yeah. Anyway, Liv and Natalya kicked us off. Natty poking her head through the chamber for a bit, through some of the chains, and throwing Liv into Cross's plastic pod to the tune of One More Time. And she did. Go Canada. Raquel Rodriguez bringing her back and like big power strength to the occasion. A fun, because what else is she other than she's got a back? Raquel Rodriguez has a back. Good for her. Good for her. Yeah, I mean everyone has a back, but Raquel, she's got a back. But everyone's got a back, but she's got a back. That's the difference. That's the difference. A fun little spot with her holding both Liv and Natalya before the two fought her off and into the chamber wall. So, yeah, just a nice little reversal spot there. Nikki Cross pelts it across the ring, running about and charging everyone while still wearing her jacket. So, why is she wearing her jacket? That comes up pretty soon. And brawling everyone to the side, Liv into one pod, Raquel into the other, poor Natty into the chamber door. All a lovely little setup for the jacket to come off while she's on top of a pod chamber. She's hyping herself up to do a splash off of Carmella's chamber, and down she goes. And coincidentally, out next, Carmella playing the cowardly heel perfectly before Rodriguez charged Nikki through her pod, just crash straight through it. No fear, as for me, a bit I generally enjoyed. Just a fun little bit as Carmella just runs away to hide in another pod. It was like, yeah, that makes sense. The people have left the pod, so you just go into another one. Yeah, it makes sense. Raquel's elimination on Cross was missed during the crash into the pod replays. So Nikki Cross eliminated by move. We'll call it move. After that, an amazing sunset flip powerbomb with Liv diving off of the pod as Raquel was delivering punches stood on the second rope to the corner. Liv dives off the pod with an amazing sunset flip. The timing went from both of them. It looked damn great. Top-notch ear fall after it too. Finally, out comes Asuka to chance of Asuka's going to kill you as she zones in on Carmella. Again, she's been the cowardly heel before Asuka enters, and then she just immediately just spinning back fists. It's like, oh, okay, that's the end of her. No elimination, but because of Carmella being there, the favourite got to look really strong right out of the gate. The crowd chant helps as well, but obviously she just looks like she's going to murder that woman. Another good spot with Liv going for the Oblivion, only for the knackered on the kind of ringside pads area, Carmella to get up and super kick her as on the springboard. Like, I honestly didn't mind that elimination either. Liv caught in 2 submissions before passing out. Natty with the sharpshooter, then in comes Asuka, and that obviously sells Asuka's submission move for later. Yeah, perfectly fine way to get someone like Liv out of there. She passes out, she doesn't tap, and it's 2 different people as well. And she got super kicked, which is Carmella's big move. But the eliminations came thick and fast as Carmella super kicks Natty out to Canada's dismay before her and Asuka kick poor Rodriguez into a 3, and we're really quickly down into our final 2, which was itself a really fun, fast-paced final 2. Kicking off with an immediate false finish, the super kick from Carmella into a sudden pin, and then into a run of pin reversals before a lovely transition by Asuka back into that submission which we just saw her put on Liv, stretching Carmella's arms trapped into submission. And then it ends. It's like the final 2, for me, perfectly encapsulated the run and rhythm once Asuka entered, where suddenly it was just like bang, 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 we're getting this thing done in the next 5 minutes. Dinner's ready, come back inside, you've got 5 minutes. It's like, oh crap, we need to wrap up this story then. Just really, really fast. Perfectly fun little chamber. Like, never going to climb up anyone's rankings, but enjoyable enough. And I don't know, do I want it to be more? Because the ending thing was, it was a chamber match. You know the rhythms of a chamber match. This delivered them. Therefore, to that degree, it was relatively enjoyable. It was also absolutely nothing to write home about. So, it's however you want it to be. Yeah. Depends what you want from a chamber match. This actually runs really well into the next match. Yeah, obviously I'm happy about Bianca Belair versus Asuka. That's going to be awesome. If they give it time, which they have done because they really want to showcase Bianca Belair. Which also means, just by proxy, you get Asuka showcased. Just, yes. But me talking about kind of run-of-the-mill, you want this match, you've got the rhythms of this match. Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley was next. And, oh boy, in terms of just your absolute standard Brock Lesnar match, this was this. Like, the bright side of it was when this came up second, I'm like, oh wow, this is how great these 5-match cards are to watch. Like, immediately we've gone from that into Brock and Bobby's big beefy boy battle. It's like, oh yes. But this was your absolute standard Brock Lesnar match. 5 minutes of absolute power. Big boy roars and finisher kickouts galore. You've seen this match so many times in the last 9 years. Because yes, Brock Lesnar returned, was it 10 years ago now? 10, 9? God. Yeah, because it lines up with the Daniel Bryan stuff. But you're still just this is your bog standard Brock Lesnar match with absolutely nothing new. However, they are using this to build up something with Bobby and possibly Bray. As I'm saying, it's a triple Bray match. Triple B match. Not forgetting Bo Dallas also begins with a B. So I'm pretty certain on SmackDown was the first time I clocked it was definitely him playing Uncle Howdy. I mean, he could have taken out his ear piercing, changed his beard a bit in the last 5-6 years. Or it's genius from WWE knowing that I would recognise that little detail. And I don't know. You never know with the Bray stuff. Anything can be the case. Who knows what they're doing? The Canadian crowd fully behind Big Brock, as equally big. Bobby speared him into trying to lock in the Hurt Lock. And nope, 2 F5s and a kick out before a surprise third spear and near fall. This time successful with the Hurt Lock. Brock looking like he's going to snap out somehow before failing and just resorting to kicking the lad in the nads. DQ. Oh, okay. So Brock Lesnar was your kind of hero guy, and when he realised he wasn't going to get out of the Hurt Lock, he did the baddie thing and kicked him in the dick. But is it a baddie thing or is it a smart thing? Because he knows. Bobby Lashley wasn't going to let go of that Hurt Lock, and he's kind of saved himself from any beating. That's also what heels do. It's a weird one. This is all within WWE's world, where these are tropes that are aligned with certain ways of doing it, because it's very it's a lot more black and white WWE than elsewhere. But I don't know, Triple H starting to peel that back, but better and worse. A BS finish. It's not what I would have done. However, if you're using certain things as barometers, the crowd was still firmly behind Lesnar. Like, it clearly worked for some people. It was just maybe just me that was like, okay, not what I would have done. It clearly worked for some people, though. The crowd were properly into Lesnar. Popping big for him hitting the F5 to the referee, and again for him F5ing Bobby Lashes through the announce table. Like, one of the most textbook Brock showings I've ever seen. But the crowd seemed to love it. So it was obviously hitting for someone. It's clear that this works for some people. Maybe it's just not me. Maybe I have seen it just too many times, and I like variety. Which, to be fair, is mostly why I'm applauding this show, because not one match feels the same. The variety on the show is great. So yeah, it's just that this is the bog standard Brock Lesnar match. If you've seen one, you've seen them all, and that was perfectly fine for a time. But we're now 8 years on, and that variety doesn't really work for me anymore. Well, not that non-variety. That same pattern doesn't get a reaction out of me anymore. Even though it's good to see him finally doing it with a modern guy in Bobby Lashley who isn't Roman Reigns. And to properly do this match formula, where they both feel like titans clashing with a modern guy, rather than, like, when it's not been Roman, it's just been the underdog, be it Seth Rollins, be it Finn Balor, be it Daniel Bryan. Like, it's always been the guy who shouldn't beat Brock Lesnar, and obviously Seth Rollins does, but it's that rhythm of match. But for it to be an actual titan clash, it's like, yes. Because even Samoa Joe felt like guys and Braun Strowman, because even though they were the bigger guys, they still felt like guys who shouldn't beat Brock, somewhat feeling like an underdog. Like Bobby Lashley, they're trying to build him to feel like he's on that similar in-ring level at least. Yeah, it's not for me. We'll see. I've got no idea how Bray fits into this. We'll see. Anyway, a quick note on the Seth Rollins Joker Dance promo. For the first time, they showed a Hollywood type of promotion for the WrestleMania in Hollywood. People have been asking for WWE to do what they did in 2005 and get their wrestlers to enact stuff on famous movies. So Seth Rollins doing the Joker Dance on the stairs. Makes all the sense in the world. Great choice. But holy shit, Becky's Batman voice. just Becky then just walks up to Seth Rollins, and it's just Becky wearing shades, I think it was. She's not in a Batman costume. She's not got any Batman makeup on. She just walks up to him and just does the Batman voice. It really caught me off guard and got a proper laugh out of me. Just the whole setup where she kind of walks up as like she's the interruption, she's the break, and then Seth looks at her, but then she does a silly voice. It's like, yes, the interruption is also part of the silliness. I'm all for it. Comedy. Anyway, mixed tag team match. Edge, comedy's also always funny when you've explained every nook and cranny about it. That's what makes comedy the funniest. A mixed tag team match, Edge and Beth Phoenix versus Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley. The kind of match to help a show like this feel like it's flying by. Like, our two non-chamber championship matches are completely different, giving the show some much needed variety. And this tag match was so damn enjoyable. Like, my ass was thoroughly sports entertained as Dickhead Dom met semi-comeuppance. Like, a Canadian Edge treated like a superstar upon arrival, belting out Metalingus like they're drunk Brits in Cardiff. Like, Edge and Finn, fun enough, but bloody hell did this match wake up when Beth and Rhea got tagged in. Awesome stiff shots to kick us off and set the tone. Like, it says a lot when I'm generally a tad disappointed when Edge and Finn effing Balor tag in. I was like, the women were fantastic in this match. And I was generally sad when they tagged out. But, and also, another note in just how damn great Dominic Mysterio is currently. Like, loud FU Dominic chants on more than one occasion. Like, great stuff as he interferes and then pelts it out of the arena. Just absolutely no hesitation. I love that. Just, just talking the big game and then just absolutely pelting it immediately. Like, I love it. Like, everybody is in on this joke. It works so damn well. Rhea looking damn strong as Judgment Day are both trapped in submission, and she's the one to stop the Irishman from tapping before lamping Edge with a Dom-tossed weapon. The second half of this match, creating some really strong innovative spots. Beth and Rhea both powerbombing the male opposition off the corner. The final run was strong too. Like, Edge and Finn with a great sequence after Phoenix fought off and glamours on Ripley to the outside floor. Spear into Sling Blade into Spear, Balor into a Shatter Machine. Wait, what? A Shatter Machine for the win? Beth Phoenix and Edge win with a Shatter Machine. FTR's Brett Love turning them to honorary Canadians. I guess. It's like, wow. I wouldn't have predicted that that's how this match ended. But also, this was just a really fun match. You've got the you've got Rhea Ripley's really building up that hype to WrestleMania. And you've got Edge in his hometown, and you've also got his wife. And Beth Phoenix has also been hyped up to be somebody who can beat up Dominic at will. So when her and Ripley get into the ring, it really does to feel like that these are two awesome people clashing. So just throw forearms at each other. It really, and it was just the whole dynamic of it was just really entertaining. I really enjoyed it. And after Bobby Brock, that's what the show really needed. Just a really fun tag team match. Thoroughly enjoyable. You will be entertained. Especially for someone like me that just absolutely loves what Dom's doing right now. And he just, as soon as he does it, just like, yes. You pelt it out of that arena. Absolutely nailed. Yeah. I think not a lot of notes from this, but it was one of those that made the crowd happy and kind of just lifted your spirits before going to the more serious Chamber Championship match. It's exactly what this card needed. I don't like every match feeling the same. I mean, it's fine in some circumstances, but in WWE, I want variety. I don't want every match to somewhat feel within the same formula. So, yeah. Anyway, the Elimination Chamber match. So, this is the final thing I get to talk about. Because I'm doing everything I can to just not ramble on about where Sami Zayn I think could be going. I think I need to write a column just to get it out of my system. Because it's just where could they be going for this? Well, this is what they set up. Anyway. So the Elimination Chamber match for the United States Championship, Austin Theory, Seth Rollins, Damian Priest, Montez Ford, Johnny Gargano and Bronson Reed. This was flipping awesome. This match was so good. Especially as I didn't really love the Women's Chamber match that opened the show. As I was saying, it was perfectly enjoyable. It was a chamber match. And I don't have much more to say about it. The right person won. This was a really well put together match. Just the elements were all there. And what really helped it is the fact that it's not the main title. It's not for a main title, for WWE, for a heavyweight, for a Universal, whatever. This is for the mid-card United States Championship. Which means it's really not the end of the world were somebody else to win. Or for you to at least give some elevation to people. And for me, this elevated, or at least gave a shine to some people who desperately needed it. Be that Johnny Gargano, who is teaming up with Damien, I've forgotten his name, the weird guy. Him. What's it? Dexter Lumis, there we go. Teaming up with Dexter Lumis has done absolutely no favours to him. He feels cold. It doesn't feel like Johnny Gargano has returned to WWE. It feels like his body is there and he's just doing these weird stuff. Like, he's Johnny Wrestling. Just put him in the ring. Just get him away from Dexter Lumis. It's not the way to go. Bronson Reed, also with an amazing showing, who, through his entrance here and on Monday Night Raw, is just not getting reactions. However, on every occasion I've seen him, the crowd are reacting by the end of his match. But for some reason, Goldfish, when he walks out next, the next crowd just don't react at all to him. Which is really strange. I don't know if it's because as character-wise he needs to be given a reason, and he's not really been there that long. But so far, every week on TV, and even here as well, he puts on a really impressive display, gets the crowd really invested in what he's doing in the ring, and then come the next show, nobody cares. It's like, it'll click eventually, surely. You just keep doing this. You don't really need to change a lot. Just have Bronson Reed being this awesome guy, and put him in these, really strong matches where he can easily win as well, like he has been doing. He will get over. It's just, for some reason, they're not latching on yet, even though every crowd you put him in front of, by the end of the match, have latched on. It's a weird one. Yeah, it'll click eventually. I call it weird. Maybe people in the wrestling business immediately recognise what's going on here and know what to do. For me, it's like, no one's biting in spite of the fact that every time we go into the ring, they bite. So why aren't they staying biting when we come back again? Anyway, starting off with Rollins and Gargano, no complaints from me. Wrestling, immediately contrasting with the previous matches, like entertaining sports endeavour, like a really strong way to kick off the match as well as painting Gargano as someone who belongs in this match like this, like, because they haven't really made him feel so on the telly show, and this is kind of a quite important part to establish him as a guy who's going to run through the match the way he is. Austin Theory out of his pod first in a jolt to like any predictable formula. It's like, oh, he's the heel champion, he enters last, or second to last. Like, no, he's first out. Good. Yeah. Run him up with the formula, that's good. Running riot for a minute before Seth and Johnny aligned to the delight of the Canadian crowd. A really fun spot followed, with Theory shutting his pod door to Gargano, only for Seth to just walk around to the other side, and both lads then shut themselves into that pod and beat down Austin Theory. It's like, yes, heel guy who tries to hide immediately gets punished. Next, Damien Priest gets to enter and run. Both lads down and one via kill switch. Theory comes back out. It's like, oh yes, we did it. We've got them both going. If we work together, we can now. Only for Priest to slam him down. Back down he goes. And a tope thud. Oof, like he just kind of rotated over, just landed. Oof, onto the poor champion. Poor man. And with all four men in the ring, this match started to hit a really nice flow. Like, a groove started to be hit. It was like, oh, I can see this flowing really well, actually. Then Big Boy Bronson bounces into the fray. It's like, oh, yes. Here we go. Mixing up the dynamic with a pure serving of beef. Making a double Samoan drop with two lads up on his shoulders look easy. Running havoc in a really strong showing. Standing strong right up into the face of the next entrant. Montez Ford enters into a running fire. A great pairing against the champion, setting him up for People's Elbow, only for Bronson to bounce back in to say hello. The other lads recouping into an amazing sequence. A Doomsday Device into a Poison Rana to Bronson Reed. Like, the last person you'd expect, because he's the widest man in the ring. He can't safely land on his... Oh my god! He's fine. This is awesome. Soon became holy shit as Montez climbed the pod, hung upside down like Spider-Man off the roof before falling down onto the pile of lads below him. It's like, oh, that was so good. Just like, where's he going? He's still climbing. Where's he going? Where's he going? It's so good. The first elimination hitting at a white-hot moment as Gargano, Rollins and Ford all joined up to super kick the Aussie down. Slingshot DDT, stomp, Montez Ford frog splash ends Bronson Reed's night with a damn strong response from the crowd. Also, importantly, Ford got the pin. In this future elevation, the seeds are being sowed. Seth and Johnny finding themselves both sat upon a pod at the same time, chopping. They're little. It's like, oh, this is nice, isn't it? And then chop, down goes that. Like what? And then you just watching it as a pile of people of lads below starts to form, and Seth Rollins looks over his shoulder. Is like, what's he gonna do? And then he sets up Johnny Gargano for what's he gonna do? And you suddenly realise, oh, he's gonna powerbomb him off. And then Johnny reverses with Ivana. So it's a powerbomb. Probably stood up, a powerbomb off the pod, reversed into a Johnny Rana. It's like, oh god. Like, Jesus, what a spot. And both lads are so good at what they do that when you watch the replay, it's somehow the safest thing, or at least as safe as they could make it. You know, just when you first watch it, it's like, oh, surely Johnny like hit his head, or maybe Seth landed awkwardly, or whatever. You watch it, like, oh no, that was somehow almost perfectly safe. Yeah, looking all catastrophic. Yeah, both guys are amazing. Just put Johnny Gargano in wrestling matches. Why is he with Dexter Lumis? Johnny running fire right in time to be eliminated by Razor's Priest. And that was a little... If I got one kind of critique, this match hit a bit of a repeat rhythm for a little while, where Johnny Gargano was running absolute fire, hit slingshot DDTs onto anybody, everybody, super kicks to everybody, diving spears, but then he gets caught out and gets a finisher hit on him, and there he goes. Rinse and repeat as we rotate into Priest dominating before his elimination, Rollins and Ford hitting an awesome powerbomb blockbuster combo. To be fair, at least the way these guys were getting eliminated in the end was inventive and different, even though it was still the same rhythm of dominate, dominate, dominate to make you look strong when you get eliminated. Rinse and repeat for the next guy. But yeah, Rollins and Ford, that powerbomb blockbuster combo, amazing. Montez with his second elimination in this pivotal match, in them convincing us on his future elevation, because that's kind of what this match was doing. Montez Ford was never there to win. He was there so you can be convinced, so he can convince you that he has got a future singles run in him, and kind of just build that sentiment within the fans before pulling the trigger. Oh, that's huge. That's going to be huge. You're going to naturally get so many people behind him by doing that. And yeah, this match is... It may not go down as like a pivotal moment in Montez Ford's career, but for me it is. Like, this will be the match where they started to convince you that he should get a push. And in terms of like kind of pushing the viewer a certain way, the Vince McMahon cockily saying, well, we'll tell you what you like. You don't like what you think you like what I tell you like. Yeah, that's them doing that idea, but, you know, less connivingly, less evil, a bit more, you know, actual storytelling and what they do with this sort of thing. Storytelling is very formulaic in terms of how you actually structure a good story. It's less, oh, this amazing creative thing. It's more, well, I have to hit this at this point to create this emotion to make them want this. It's like, oh, yeah, very formulaic. Anyway, and I mean formulaic in a, you are figuring out the formula, not in a, that's predictable. And you can tell I'm getting tired. Let's get through this. A huge pop for Ford hitting the rock bottom before his untimely ultimate failure. The injured Cell set up a match-ending interference as Austin Theory takes him down. Rollins delivers the stomp as he's bent over on the ropes to the outside mats. Back into the ring, and there he goes, and he's just not really moving, and then they bring in all the other officials. And this works in two different ways. Montez Ford gets his shine. He gets his moment for the crowd to applaud him as he walks away after showing like a really strong showing in this match. But also, because the officials are taking him down, that means, more importantly, the chamber door is open. Okay. Rollins having Theory down for the stomp, only for Logan Paul, of all people, to capitalise on the open chamber door and buckshot the man's man down. It's like, oh, down he... Oh, no. They're probably doing Seth Rollins, Logan Paul. They've been hinting at it already, but this is them pulling the trigger on it. But again, Logan Paul's buckshot has no right to be that good. But it is. It's too good. His stomp was nothing to slouch at either, following up with that as the final message. A-Town down and the champion retains. Bloody hell did this match deliver. Like, really gave a shine to a bunch of lads that badly needed it. Gave Austin Theory a win where it feels like he's not earned it, in spite of him putting on a good showing. Like, it's still the character has not earned it because Logan Paul gave him the victory. So he's the champion you want to see lose the title. And little things like in the match himself, still calling himself the forever champion. Like, it's little touches like that that make you want to see him lose. And for me, WrestleMania is probably a place to do it, but I don't know if a legitimate guy to take the title off him has stepped up. But that's the benefit of the US title. You don't need that huge build to do so. You can do that with like a couple of weeks or a few weeks of just building to that guy to take it off. You don't need a huge storyline. So it works perfectly well. So, Elimination Chamber. For me, one great Elimination Chamber match and an overall really strong flow to the show. Because even the opening match, I don't have a lot to say about it, but it was still perfectly enjoyable. It wasn't a bad offering of Elimination Chamber. It just was one. But the men's one, the US title, it was absolutely fantastic. And it did so much good as well. The two matches in between added such variety, which means the overall flow of the show works so much better. Even though I'm not a fan of the dick kick, but other people are. So clearly it's working for some. And then I really enjoyed the mixed tag team match too. Then we get to the main event, where that's just a huge emotional kind of... Yes, it's a bloodline drama, but also the emotion from Montreal themselves. Like, it really had a very strong CM Punk Chicago feel to it. Sami, like this national hero, and that really, really elevated the match. Just a really special atmosphere. And that's after 4 matches early on in the card that really had a really strong variety and flow to them. So for me, like, Elimination Chamber, a really good show. And that's following a really good Royal Rumble show as well. So far, 2023, it's the Sheamus quote of banger after banger for WWE. 2 shows in a row where I don't really have any complaints. And my complaints are more personal gripes than anything. Like, I'm not a massive fan of the Brock Lesnar thing being a rinse and repeat thing, but there's such variety on the show that I can forgive it. So yeah, it means like the current conversation with AEW, where because there are other things to fixate on, the certain things not being that amazing don't like grab your attention because you're busy enjoying the other stuff. And that's normally been the case with AEW. It's just currently there isn't that amazing thing for me to latch onto. In WWE, there's those amazing things for me to latch onto right now. Which, obviously, this is the period they will want me to feel that way because it's a WrestleMania period. WWE has an amazing ability to just dive off a cliff after WrestleMania. But if they want my attention where I'm like, oh no, this is my current product that I'm genuinely excited to watch, this is the period to do it in. So good for them, because it'll flow back and forth. Whatever. Yeah, I didn't mean to bring up AEW in this review. It just reminded me that this has got so many different things to latch onto that even though there is a negative, my brain's not fixating on it. It's more of a, that thing I didn't massively enjoy was there, but what about all of these other things? What about these other fine fruits that were deliciously juicy? Yeah. Actually, that'll be it. That'll be my sign-off. Elimination Chamber's final score, deliciously juicy. Anyway, that is the end of the review. You can thank you for watching, engaging in any form, any manner, or always appreciated, never taken for granted. Hit me up on Twitter at the damn implicat. That's damn as in damn. I've got my Twitch there. I've not streamed on there in months. There are also Wrestling Headlines at Russell Headlines on Twitter, and Wrestling Headlines Facebook page if you want to go and get all your latest Wrestling Headlines news. I mean, to be fair, the site does so well on Facebook that me plugging it here feels almost like I don't know how many will funnel through, but it's probably the other way around. Thank you, Facebook, for sending people to me. Anyway, with that, I bid you adieu. Did you enjoy Elimination Chamber? What do you think of the Sami Zayn thing? Hit me up in the comments and let me know, and I'll try and get back to you or whatever. If you want to generally get in touch with me, try and hit me up on Twitter. I'm a lot more linked in with that. But do hit up on the comments and things. The engagement's always appreciated. And with that, I bid you adieu. Adios.